G'day everyone, it's James Davis from the Pax8 Academy down here in APAC again, and this time around I've got Lauren from B2Me Marketing. Thanks for joining me, Lauren.
Oh, lovely to be here. Nice to catch up again.
We have a lot of conversations around marketing, and I'm finding more and more that I'm talking to more technology businesses around their marketing strategy. And I think because of our conversations, now I'm seen as a marketing expert. But actually, you're the brains behind all of this, and I'm excited to have this conversation recorded. Uh, I'm going to hit you and put you on the spot. You do external marketing. I just pay you to generate leads, right? That's how it works.
Oh yeah, totally. That's honestly, yeah, the biggest misconception that suddenly they'll engage with a marketing agency or hire an internal marketing manager that's meant to wear many, endless hats, and that suddenly the fountain of leads will come in, and that's just not the case. Without having your sales function, getting your senior leadership team involved, marketing can't succeed. And there are obviously steps and processes and things that make an effective marketing strategy or marketing function, but getting everyone involved throughout the business, especially sales, it's a joint effort. It's not a turn marketing on and away we go. And it's also a process that you have to build upon. Again, everyone thinks that they can just switch that flick and away they go. But it takes time to build brand awareness, and then there's the whole, but I've got a website. Yeah, but have you been driving traffic to your website? Do you even know who your audience are? There's so much more to it, and they're very quick to try and jump the gun and get 10 steps down the road without getting their house in order.
I see that a lot as well, and it probably comes from the fact that a lot of people don't truly understand what marketing is. Most of technology business owners, they're tech's heart. For one, most of them find sales and unnecessary evil, or they're proud that they don't even do sales, and their marketing's this far off concept that they really don't understand. So you mentioned there in a few spots around needing a lot of input and executive sponsorship. What does that actually look like?
Well, it all kind of boils down to really understanding what their goals are, what makes them unique, what's their brand promise, really understanding what their business is truly delivering, and then how that, because if you don't have that cemented and down packed and kind of living and breathing through the company and the leadership team, you can then struggle to execute on marketing because your messaging then ends up all over the place. You can't really connect with your audience because they don't know who you are. And that's also where you'll tend to find mistakes or things happening where you'll have someone come in and they'll be almost sporadic with their messaging, so it goes off track, that your audience then doesn't know who they're really hearing from. So from a leadership perspective, and getting everyone on the same page is crucial. And you'll tend to find, obviously, with the smaller MSPs where they're leading with the sales as well, they'll go, oh well, they're still going around in that circle, that friends and family network, referral network. So there's that hesitancy with marketing, but knowing that eventually that circle is going to run out, and unless they're again clear on their messaging, they're going to struggle to expand out of that circle.
Those things like the USP and the brand promise and the culture and stuff. How many people have you come across that actually have that in place? And then the second question from that is, the ones that do have that in place, how many actually reflect what you end up seeing when you get involved with the companies?
Yeah, so not many actually have it articulated when they engage with myself or start doing marketing. Or it's interesting, you'll then get the leadership team together after, as your business has grown and things evolve and you've got team players, how the messaging can easily, if it's not solidified, get diluted over time. So starting with that and always circling back and really enforcing it with every new hire is extremely important. And yeah, not many businesses have it that it's strong enough that everyone knows it. So you'll have perhaps someone in the team think that it's this and another think that, or someone may not even know it exists. And then when it comes into translating it through to your marketing, unless that person is crystal clear on what that is, that's where it gets even further diluted, and then you end up finding yourself just blending in with all of the other MSPs out there, just repeating and repeating the same messaging. They'll start talking about their managed services and their quick response times or their cybersecurity, and it's all just the same, and it all just falls on deaf doors.
Do you think that comes from a lack of confidence in them being able to be genuine? I know that's a term that's thrown around a lot, but I think from my experience, I see a lot of people end up doing the core values and the USP type talk, and they try and make it sound as professional as possible. Then I might see the company, and they're not actually super rigid professional people. So I don't see it reflect. What do you think that comes from?
I don't think it's they're going into it thinking about not being genuine, but whether it stems from some sort of imposter syndrome, and again, that perception of what they think their customers want, or they see what everyone else is doing and they try and follow the crowd. But this is where it's it's hard. I'm not saying it's easy, but trying to break away from that and actually embrace and own your own personality and your approach, because that is going to be different. Again, when you boil down to it, again, most managed services packages look relatively the same, and so does cybersecurity. Everyone's trying their own take on it, but really it's their personality and what people are going to get when they pick up the phone, and having that shine through. That is one of the biggest things that's going to make them unique. So it's about embracing it and not shying away from it. But it is hard. Easier said than done. But that's where you're going to really see the difference in pickup, because your audience are going to feel like they're working with real people, and everyone's been so focused on having that polished look. And that's again, with marketing, in general, people want to work with people. They want to hear from people. They don't want to hear from brands and this stale corporation. They want to hear from real people and know that they can pick up the phone, or they can depend on these companies.
So let's assume, because we made it sound so easy, that you tick all those boxes and you get that done, and you know who you are and your core values and all that sort of stuff. What's the next step? Where do you go from there?
Well, then it's outlining your goals and what you're trying to achieve. And again, that sounds relatively simple, but the more when you've got different stakeholders, or a larger leadership team, again, making sure that they're all aligned in what they're trying to achieve, their personal and kind of professional goals, and making sure that aligns. And then stemming that back to, all right, well, what's your target audience? Who are we trying to help? And being really clear and specific with that as well, rather than turning around like you and I know, we've seen it many times, where it's like, oh, I just want to help professional services, 20 to 200 seats. That doesn't tell me what keeps them up at night, how you, again, resonate or understand that audience. For different industries, are they different sizes? How well do you actually know that industry? Do you just service that industry, or have kind of fallen into buckets where you back when perhaps you were smaller, just accepting anyone and everyone. And now it's whether that point with setting goals around and being more deliberate with who you're targeting, and branching off rather than trying to be a jack of all trades, be a master of the industries you want to approach.
Okay, so we know who we are, we know who we want to get, and you mentioned our goals there. Like, what sort of information do you need to know in terms of goals? Like, what's helpful for you to be successful in delivering it then?
I think it's very easy to fall into the trap of wanting more seats, when it boils down to it, it's actually revenue driven. So you'll tend to find you'll go, I just want to take on 10 new clients of this many seats, but if you can actually, when really it boils down to you want the revenue that those seats would equate to, why are you not looking at perhaps your existing client base and trying to build deeper relationships and look for that low-hanging fruit and upsell, as well as then go external and see what that really means. Is it revenue driven and have fewer bigger companies if your company can handle it? So really, again, boiling it down to, is it really a seats goal? Do you want to be the MSP that's helping thousands and thousands of businesses, or do you want to have fewer clients, on the larger end of the scale, and do those extremely well? And it's more about the revenue you're generating. And you ask any MSP, I think it'll be the revenue rather than seats, because more seats, potentially more headaches. Whereas they'd want, at the end of the day, it's a revenue goal they're shooting for. But yeah, when they're talking to marketing, a lot of my conversations are around, because they'll think, oh, my target audience, they'll then go, well, if my target audience is this many seats, then my goal needs to be a seat metric, when actually it's revenue.
That's very interesting, and you can see how that changes the perspective on setting goals, because seats get to the point, to your point, is it's very myopic in probably the wrong way. And it probably closes off the thoughts there of, like things like lifetime value of the client and things like that. We've oversimplified it a little too far. We've got our goals, and we've set some realistic targets at that point, because you've just told me before, I can't just pay you money and the magic marketing fairy will generate all these clients straight away for me. Where do we go from here? I know who I am. I know who I'm targeting. I've got some goals. Where then?
Now it's about outlining your budget and knowing that it falls into a few different spaces. You've got the actual marketing grind, actually producing content, producing socials and whatnot. You also need to account for any software and enablement that may be required. You've also got advertising. So again, a lot of MSPs will go, well, I've started posting on social, or I'm doing this activity, and it's all organic, but they're only going so far. So without investing into that paid avenue and really branching out and starting to build that pipeline, are you going to start driving more traffic and results? But again, it's overnight. They've got to come down the funnel. And then potentially any events. You listen to any MSP owner, they'll say that, I put me in front of a client and I've won the business already. So making sure you've got those clear different buckets, or your budget incorporates all of those. Again, it's not about just hiring someone or working with an agency, as you've got to have those areas covered. But then stemming on from that, you're going to start investing in building a pipeline, and it's going to take time to work people down, make them aware, generate interest, and them start considering you. You also need to have that sales function to also promote and encourage and be involved in the funnel. And that's where typically I see when I start it, they'll see marketing and sales as very separate, but they need to work together. And so that's where, a lot of what I do when I come involved is make sure I'm having regular catch up with the sales team. Again, really embed myself within those businesses so that we understand, every function. And so that, there's also the opportunity for, if they have gone out and have generated their own leads, that how we can use marketing to enable and empower that sales activity. But having the next step is that budget.
When you talk to different MSPs, obviously budgets are going to be different, but what sort of how would you normally frame it? I'm trying to think of the right way to say it. What's sort of the base principle of what you should expect for your marketing budget, based on how big you are? Is obviously it's going to be a bit different, but how would you get people to think about that?
It really comes down to the speed in which they want to grow with their budgets. You'll have ones that want to have an aggressive growth, but then they have a small budget, and so it's then turning around going, with that budget, again, what is our estimated return? What's our return on investment for that ad spend based on their audience? What platforms we're going to be targeting? And then as soon as they really see those numbers, that's when it kind of the penny starts dropping. And again, the different campaigns and different budgets for different stages of the funnel is going to vary as well. So I'll find that during that process, it gives them a bit of a reality check when they'll go, I want aggressive growth, but I don't have an aggressive budget. Okay, this is what your budget can achieve. And then things start dropping into place, that, okay, no, I need to do more. Or they'll go, actually, no, if you can just help me upsell to my existing client base and get deeper, and upsell into any white space, then so be it. And then have, start plotting some seeds for down the track and for brand awareness, but just try and work with their existing client base. So it's just trying to find, really, what does their goal mean? And again, it probably stems back to when I was saying about that revenue and seats, when they'll start coming in, they'll go seats and this is my budget, and then you go, actually, how about we just get you to that revenue target by upselling? But if it is more seats, then again, it needs that higher budget.
How long should I budget for? I was doing this. Is it a 3 months thing? You said it takes a little while to start getting results. Like, how long should I be thinking about?
So it can take a while, depending on really where you're starting from and if you've got those foundational pieces in place. But if I just take one example, there was this data released recently from LinkedIn, and they have recorded that on average it takes about 9 months of LinkedIn advertising from a lead generation campaign to start seeing results. So that's a long time in MSP's eyes, especially when they are looking for quick wins, or at least that's what, when they come to the party with, they want, all right, well, I only need to wait 3 to 6 months. I think everyone's quite educated in the fact that SEO can take 6 to 12 months, but advertising, they go, if I'm chucking thousands of dollars into this, I want to see a return quicker. But it's a long play for some of those advertising. That's not to say you can't get results sooner if you've got an effective strategy where you're not just going on. We spoke the other day about boosting posts on Facebook. Grinds my gears when people think they can put $50 behind a boosted post and think that they can just convert, or they'll instantly see a spike in traffic and then wonder why nothing came through, and they'll just keep chucking it away without actually making sure that you're educating people and getting them down the funnel and giving them the right messaging at the right time. You're never going to get to that point. So yeah, if you start all the way, you've got an ebook or a really successful piece of content that you think is going to go far, but you just straight off the bat start pushing and promoting that without any brand awareness, or no one has any idea who you are, or they've never been on your site before, seeing that ebook less likely to engage unless you've built that trust. So yeah, you have to make sure you're planting all the seeds. So to answer your question, potentially up to 12 months to really start seeing traction. But I've seen it sooner. But again, to be realistic and to set expectations, budget for a year to start getting traction, and then beyond that, then you definitely have again, depending on your budget and what you've invested into that first year, have a strong foundation to then go harder in your second year.
So you sold me on the budget. We've agreed to it. Where to from here? What do we do next?
Well, it's piecing it all together, really. So you know who you are, you know your target audience, and you know what content they respond to, you know what platforms they're behaving, you know what channels you're going to execute on. It's then a matter of piecing it all together and start executing, really. Now, there is that, potentially a few months of getting things set up, generating that content, and then look to start ads. Don't in your first month start running ads and running before you can walk. But yeah, it's just a matter of piecing it all together.
Content, that just triggered me. You've got templates and you'll just generate me the content and I don't have to do anything, right?
No. So we will again look at things like SEO, what people are searching for, what trends. We'll start generating articles, ebooks, podcasts, video. It could be anything, but again, it's not about also turning around going, we're just going to create absolutely everything. We just need to create content. Let's just create. Making sure, again, you know that one particular audience really responds well to articles. You've got another that they have a long commute to work, so they're probably listening to podcasts. So let's create content specific to that audience via a podcast. It's piecing it together in that way. And something that MSPs aren't doing that often is the video and the podcast type content. Whilst there was an explosion when COVID hit and everyone did jump on video, MSPs not come across it too often. So it's still an effective channel. People are still consuming it, and it's about quality and making sure, again, you're not just creating one for the sake of it, and that it actually connects and it's actually being helpful. There's no point in just creating, writing an article for the sake of it or writing an ebook. Does your audience actually want that? What value are they going to get out of that? Why should they download it, or why should they tune in and listen? So yeah, it really is kind of whatever piece of content, but making sure that it's deliberate and it's not just a spray and pray. That if it is for SEO, that you are using certain keywords that people are searching for, and all of that takes time and expertise and the right tools to be able to detect that, which again, if you are looking at or have someone internal and they're wearing multiple hats, it's going to be fairly hard for them to achieve.
So if I'm the business owner, do I need to contribute anything to the content?
It depends on who you're working with, I guess. With B2Me specifically, we have a niche. We work with MSPs. That's our industry that we focus on. So other than setting the tone and us really getting a feel for who you are and making sure that we can convey your brand voice correctly, then yes, we need that input. From a reviewing content and blogs, you'll have some people do the review process, especially from a technical perspective. We aren't MSPs, so we get that kind of sanity check on that perspective. But we know your industry fairly well, so there's less on the business owner from that perspective, other than just a sanity check. But I'm not sure about, I can't speak for other agencies and things like that, but that's where, we try and take the heavy lifting off, because we know you're the industry.
And I'll say it, MSP owners actually need to get a lot more involved in this stuff. It's not a set and forget process. You're the business owners. You're the people that are coming to. You're the person selling it. The people are buying from you. It's your language. It's your personality. And I think what you were talking about there, like not many MSPs have done video. Everyone's shying away from it because everyone's worried about it and perfection over execution. So the ones that I'm seeing very successful in marketing are getting out there doing these things because no one else is. And it doesn't even have to be that great. It's just not a crowded market in the stuff that we're talking about. So I'll say it for you in terms of, like you should spend more effort and time dedicated to actually doing marketing in some form. Obviously supported, but it's on you as a small business owner. So rant over, but we've got that sort of content, process, and executing, and we know it's going to take a bit of time. How are we tracking our performance and telling whether it's a success or not?
So it's all about having the right measurements in place, and again there are tools and things again that consolidate and bring all of that together, and making sure you are measuring things regularly. I'll tend to, from my perspective, get involved with the sales process and we'll measure the marketing qualified leads, and then see it through all the way through to the sales qualified leads. We'll use several different tracking tools to make sure each of the campaigns are successful, and being able to be agile enough to understand what's working, what's not, to mix things up, update campaigns. But that's how we'll operate, and be involved in those weekly or fortnightly sales and marketing meetings to make sure, again, we've got visibility of the whole funnel, and follow things through from an MQL to an SQL, and hopefully one business. So without tracking and understanding how your campaigns are going, you can't effectively move forward or adjust, because things are constantly evolving, and things need refreshing.
So, because I know you're good, and given some time, you'll start generating leads. Do you find that what you said earlier around MSPs, the owners saying, "I just need to be in front of the prospect and I'll win it most of the time"? Is that actually true?
No. When I speak to MSPs initially in the beginning, and we're also trying to work out again their goals and return on investment with their marketing budget. If you ask them what's their conversion rate, and they'll tell you like 90%, which again, they're basing it off of their previous experience, which has been a referral, someone that's been introduced or has already some trust or awareness of you. So yes, that they do have a high conversion rate, but now as they're starting to grow their business and generate new leads, it's not as high, or it's a lot harder, and unless again you've really qualified them through your marketing by the time it gets to sales, then yes, going out to an event, again, it helps get them down the funnel a little bit quicker, because again, what we're saying, similar to video, I know you said people come up to you and feel like they know you after with all your videos that you're doing. the more that they see your face, whether it is at an event or is a video or a reel you've done on socials, yes, that can be a factor to help, but no, I've not seen it actually when you with your marketing going out to that colder audience, the conversion rate isn't as high. So I would argue that unless again people are seeing your face and building that trust with you, whether it's an event or on socials via reels.
What would you expect as a sort of a cold close rate that you've seen? Just like typical. I know it's very different for every business and that, but just sort of like an average.
Yeah, like you say, it can vary. If you've done, if it's been probably enabled by marketing, it is on the higher side. It'd be around the 50. But on the, and this is only from my experience, this isn't any industry statistics out there, but if it has been perhaps a cold lead that with no kind of marketing efforts, or if they perhaps come to your website, it can vary between the 20 to 50%.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I would have said probably 30% would be my anecdotal thing. And I'm assuming that's the sort of number that you'd be using in your planning for the amount of leads you need to generate in the traffic and that sort of stuff. I'm assuming you're a bit more conservative, not at
Yeah.
50% close rate.
No, and yeah, with MQLs to SQLs, it's only at a 2%. So yeah, it's really, really slim. And then when you end up showing the MSP owner that, wait, we're going to market and do a brand awareness campaign, and then at only 5% and 2% is actually going to be worthwhile, then yeah, again, pennies start dropping. Oh, okay, and we actually have to be a lot more deliberate. With who we're targeting and making sure we've got enough the messaging and got the right marketing to support that. So it is on the higher end when it does come to the SQL side. But yeah, and getting the owner involved and helping again with that is going to be a lot more effective. So when you're thinking of the types of content.
I think I've learned a lot from this conversation. I think there's been a lot of golden nuggets through this process of probably a lot of things like we've discussed that most technology businesses skip over. We don't know who we are, what we stand for. We don't know who we're targeting and what we do for them. We don't have the proper budgets. We don't assign the proper roles and responsibilities, and we don't measure it. What to wrap up and to leave a sort of a golden nugget, the summary of something that you'd say, go do this first thing next. What would be your sort of the final piece of advice that you give to help people out?
Yeah, so before you start bringing in third parties or recruiting or doing anything in the marketing space, really getting your brand, your uniques, your values, your brand promise cemented, and then move. And once that's sorted, then take the next step. Because otherwise, you're only going to have to go back, and marketing is going to be delayed, or it's the messaging isn't going to be quite right, or really represent your company if you don't have that in place.
I think that's some fantastic advice, and thank you so much for joining me, and hopefully all the partners are listening to this can get something out that's going to help them grow the business. So thanks so much, Lauren.
You're welcome. Great catching up.